Hi, guys. Welcome back. On today's walk, we're going to be talking about how aliens might be coming to visit us as soon as December 3rd. But until then, let's talk about how people believe in aliens and how many don't.
For years, we've been led to believe that aliens are coming and traveling millions of light years and bending space and time just to come to little old Earth and abduct people. Almost everyone that believes in UFOs think that they come from space, little craft just coming down here to land. But here's the thing. J. Allen Hynek, Jacques Vallée, and every other freaking researcher has never been able to prove with hard evidence that aliens have been or are still on Earth among us.
So let's talk about this super quick. I noticed about 10, 15 years ago, scientists started saying on YouTube a lot that because of the distances between the stars, that more than likely these beings could never get here in enough time to actually be able to visit. They would be dead on the way here, right? And all of a sudden, after that, you start hearing story after story after story of aliens coming from the oceans. And so, what I'm wondering is if maybe we came up with that part because of the distances needed to travel, because it seems like now a lot of people say, I don't think they can come from other planets. They're coming from our ocean. Just seems kind of convenient to me.
And I mean, we are talking about thousands of pages of notes, interviews with abductees and eyewitnesses, plus not to mention all the film that they have. Each and every single time, one of these researchers has completely failed to provide evidence for the ET hypothesis. I mean, nothing. Makes you think though, right? I definitely believe that something strange is going on and it's something that is unexplainable. But keep in mind, this doesn't mean that there aren't space aliens. It's just that the evidence we have make it highly, highly improbable. It could be that instead of looking out into space, we might want to look around us, maybe even under the ground. But instead, every single event is always written off as hallucinations, natural phenomena that we don't understand, like swamp gas and even dreams. I mean, tons of people have seen UFOs land with beings outside the craft and inside, and let's not forget the many examples of beings painted on cavern walls throughout history.
I think the real problem we have, if you really think about it, is the lying aspect, the hoax aspect. It seems like a lot of times people will keep secrets for a long time, and then they finally one day say, you know what, I made it up. And what happens is we live in a world where because people lie, it's hard to tell if someone's being honest about their alien abduction
But time and time again, it's blamed on delusions and dysfunctioning minds.
or
I think that's
lies.
about to change. One reason pointing to the fact that these beings aren't from outer space is that during abductions, people are kidnapped and then put through intrusive medical tests. Mac makes a good point saying it's absurd to think that an intelligent species millions of years ahead of humans would be using such primitive clinical methods. I mean, look.
It's really true. Think about this. Every time someone says they're abducted, they say that they're rubbed with this hallucinogenic baby oil, and then before you know it, something's being put into their ass. Sounds familiar, doesn't it?
Yes, it's true that we have been in contact with your government and heads of power.
Okay.
It is also true that agreements have been made and kept secret from your people. It is also true that in the past, some of your people have lost their lives or have been badly hurt to protect this secret. Our hands had no part in this. We contacted your leaders because your planet is in grave trouble. Your leaders said the vast majority of your population wasn't ready for anything like us yet. So we made time agreements with your leaders as to when your people would be made aware of our presence. Your air, your water are contaminated. Your forests, jungles, trees, and plant life are dying. There are several breaks in your food chain. You have an overwhelming amount of nuclear and biological weapons, which include nuclear and biological contamination.
See, this is what makes it seem like bullshit to me. He is literally reading from what looks to be a science fiction book. And the crazy thing about this is, I don't think aliens would give two shits about it. If they were really concerned about the contamination, they would probably be able to just make it where we woke up tomorrow and all the nuclear energy and all the nuclear weapons would be gone and replaced with something clean. But obviously, the aliens don't care that much. Now, do they? Next.
I think I know why they're doing it. 1 a.m. and yes, I got
Why?
out of bed to make this. First off, full disclaimer, I've never been one to believe in abductions, but it's been all over my For You page. Yes, I believe in ghosts, and I know that's hypocritical, but listen, I'd always just thought it was like sleep paralysis and people were confused, but maybe I was wrong. I found it hard to believe because why would they take us then bring us back? It didn't make any sense until, y'all know those beaded bracelets you can get that have like a shark or a sea turtle on it? Go to this
Yes.
website and follow Larry as he travels up and down the Atlantic coast. How we take them, tag them, release them back, and then track them. Is that what they're doing to us? Are they like in a break room right now, like this?
Beep bop boop, cool new bracelet.
Ooh, this? Meat bop meat. My granny got it for me for my birthday. She knows how I love the humans, and now I can, follow this one around. This one lives in a small town in Kentucky, but she does travel around. She always comes back. It's fun to watch her.
Now that's kind of an interesting thought. What if they are tagging us and what if they see us as their virtual pets, so to speak? And if they're extremely powerful, I don't see why they couldn't put probes in us while we're sleeping and literally live vicariously through us if they absolutely wanted to. It seems a little bit goofy, but nowadays everything that's goofy seems rather normal.
Aliens. Let me introduce you to a new perspective. So I was just thinking about this today. Why is it that all the movies and TV shows we've watched in our lifetime, they're all depicting aliens as evil? Aliens are going to take over the world. Aliens are going to destroy the human race. And it's like, so now we all are kind of fearful of aliens subliminally. But why is that what Hollywood is pushing? Why is the government pushing that we should be fearful of aliens? Because if they were going to take over the world and ruin humanity, kill us, they would have done it by now.
They want you to pay $11 for the ticket, and then they want you to buy about $50 worth of popcorn and soda. Next!
Have you ever wondered if there's more to those eerie ghost stories or alien sightings than meets the eye?
They're demons.
What if I told you that it's not just about unexplained phenomena, but a deeper, more sinister deception?
Tell me more.
Let's dive into a theory that might just change how you see the world. Imagine this. Every ghost story, every alien encounter, they aren't what they seem. These aren't lost souls or visitors from distant galaxies. Nope. They're something much more familiar and far more dangerous. They're demons. Why demons, you ask? Well, think about it. By masquerading as ghosts, these entities suggest there's life after death, but in a twisted, haunting form. It shifts our focus away from seeking true spiritual enlightenment or understanding. It's a deception designed to confuse and frighten us. Now let's talk aliens. The idea of extraterrestrial life visiting Earth has always been thrilling and terrifying. But if these so-called aliens are actually demons, their goal becomes clear. They don't want to explore or communicate. They aim to lead us astray, making us doubt our faith, distracting us from seeking guidance from above. By presenting themselves as aliens, they create a grand narrative that seems scientific and appealing, drawing us away from spiritual truth.
Now, see, here's the interesting thing. This sounds goofy to people that love aliens because they don't like it to be clouded by Jesus and religion, right? But the reality is this, if there was a demonic force or if there was an alien against us, I think they would be doing what is happening nowadays in the world. All this divisiveness, we're all against each other. Seems like guys and girls don't like each other. We're always being told how the birth rate is dropping way down. And to me, it sounds to me like that would be the perfect way to attack an alien civilization. Make them where they can't stand one another and they destroy one another.
I've not seen any evidence of aliens. We've got 6,000 satellites in orbit, and not once have we had to maneuver around an alien spacecraft.
Right. But on this Earth, the U.S. military has had to do a lot of maneuvering around objects they can't explain.
There's always a bunch of classified programs that are underway of new aircraft and new missiles and things. So that are classified even within the military. So it's only if you have the top secret compartmented clearance would you know about this new program. So then some pilot sees something moving fast and says, "Hey, I saw a UFO." I'm like, "Yeah, that was actually a new weapons program, but we can tell you that."
Now, see, I know this sounds crazy and people hate this, but that has to be the truth. You know why? Because think about it. We've had all these third-party organizations that build all these military vehicles and weapons, right? But all these things are top secret, and we're not allowed to see them for 15 or 20 years after the fact. Well, obviously, that means that there's hundreds, maybe even thousands of vehicles that we can't even fathom yet It's their top secret and they won't let us see them. I think the odds are that we're seeing top secret vehicles from top secret programs that aren't even allowed to be known by other branches of the military, exactly like Elon is saying. Elon is a friend of the people.
Neil Armstrong was the first man to land on the moon 1969.
Okay.
Well, if you look at his name, it has alien in it.
Oh, wow.
And that's your negative, because it's a lie. You put an S right there, that's Satan.
NASA, Satan, wow.
Cell phones weren't made till 1973, so how did the president call to the moon in 1969 from a landline phone?
You know, there's a lot of things that are kind of fishy about that moon landing. I think it really happened, so I'm not in that anti-moon landing type group, but at the same time, it does seem a little weird. And one thing that our government has kind of shown me the last couple years, they can't always be trusted.
I agree with you, so.
Don't believe in aliens. Somebody comes up to me and says that aliens exist. Can you show that to me, though? If I just believe that aliens exist because because like the universe is big, what can I justifiably cut out from that same argument? The tooth fairy exists. And then if I'm just like, well, no, they don't. They're just like, really? This big, huge universe with all these things? There's not one fairy-like creature that goes and takes teeth? Why is that not a thing? Now I'm saddled with like this belief that I have that doesn't meet the same criteria.
You know, what's really interesting, we all claim that we're pretty smart, right? And we all think we're pretty good at problem solving and critical thinking. But whenever it comes to aliens, why are we so okay in believing in a guy that always says he knows somebody in the military, right? Have you ever noticed that? All the experts, including the ones that are going before Congress, they never see it firsthand. It's always through somebody else. I find that interesting.
I don't know why lately my whole feed's been like filled with aliens and UFOs and all these stupid, crazy stories. This is what I firmly believe. And I want to say I'm almost like 100% certain. I'll say 99 because I'm not married to any idea. But this is what I strongly believe. There's no such thing as aliens. There's no such thing as aliens. The most alien thing on here on Earth is us humans. That's the most alien thing on Earth is us humans, right?
That really is true. If you think about it, we look like animals that have been robbed of their fur and all of our teeth have been blunted, which to me sounds like a chicken that's been plucked right before someone's about to eat it or something.
I definitely do believe in UFOs, but I'm very certain that they're made by man and only by man. Some are made by us, some are made by them. Any crash retrieval program, that's all fake.
I agree.
All fake. Everything's man-made.
That makes the most sense, everybody.
All that allegations of like some are made by us, some are not. That's to throw y'all off. Like your sniff test, whatever your bullshit alarm that goes off when you know bullshit, that should be going off. I don't know why y'all think there's aliens. There's no aliens in space. This is 100% confirmed. We got 7,000 satellites in orbit right now. Not detecting a goddamn thing. Like, UFOs are man-made.
See, one day I wake up on the right side of bed and I believe, the other day I wake up on the wrong side of bed and I'm like, it is all BS. And I'm telling you, I think I feel the same way that this guy does. I want to be open to it. I love the UFO stories just like you do, but I think it's kind of BS. Anyway, with that being said, we're going to be talking about Clif High. And Clif High is a gentleman that created a bot that kind of surfs on the internet and makes predictions based on things that people are starting to talk about. And it believes that 39 days after Joe Rogan and Donald Trump had their podcast, that we're supposed to be given kind of a visual sign in the sky, potentially from aliens. So go get your shoes. Let's go for a walk. inventors. I hope you're having a wonderful day. We like to walk every day, we like to drink water, and we like to avoid sugar, and we urge you to join us by walking every single day. In just a few short months, you'll be in some of the best shape of your life. Guys, I want you to think about the name Clif High. Doesn't the name Clif High just in and of itself sound pretty significant? If a person was named Clif High, you would have to think that their parents had some sort of thought that they would be doing something up high in the air, right? Up high in the sky. This guy named Clif High created a web bot project in the 90s, hoping that he could predict the stock market, and kind of make predictions on what stocks, would be advantageous to purchase, what stocks would be advantageous to dump. And it was predictive linguistics was his goal. And what he meant by that was he was going to have his web bot search through the internet to find different chats and different forums where people were talking. And if you have enough people talking about electric cars, then you can make a prediction that if it hasn't been invented yet, that more than likely within a short time, somebody would come up with an electric car. He was able to make some really interesting predictions, and he's the first to admit that his web bot does make predictions that are somewhat better than chance, and basically it's about a 50-50 thing. But here's the thing, if you had a buddy that made prediction after prediction and told them to you, and they were all wrong, you would think nothing of it, right? He's just making humorous predictions. But if you had your buddy make numerous predictions, and about half of them, maybe even a little better than half, came true, you would have to believe that he predicted much better than just chance or randomness, right? And basically, Clif High's web bot does just that. A couple of months before 9/11 occurred, he actually made a prediction that within 85 days, something significant would happen because of the different chatter that his web bot was actually picking up from the internet. And then 85 days later, 9/11 occurred. After that happened, his web bot started struggling with making predictions because now, when it scoured the internet, instead of people talking about the normal chatter that they would be talking about, they started talking about his web bot making these predictions. And so it kind of screwed up his predictive powers using the web bot. Anyway, fast forward, he predicted way back in 2009, through the web bot program, mind you, that Joe Rogan and Donald Trump would get together and communicate on a podcast, or they would communicate. Little did he know that Joe Rogan nowadays would end up being a really huge popular podcaster, and he did not have any idea back then that Donald Trump was going to end up being president. So for his web bot to kind of predict that the two would connect, and then get this, 39 days later after their interview, something would happen that would kind of trigger something happening up in the sky. He used the word melee. And when he brought up melee, and when you think of the word melee, you think of like contention, you think of a fight, right? But he believes that what his machine was trying to say is some sort of military thing. Because what Clif High kept talking about in this interview I saw with him was that melee is a military word. And it basically means when a contention degenerates into a melee or a battle. So I thought that was really interesting, and this is all supposed to happen about 39 days after the interview with Rogan and Donald Trump, which brings us up to that day, 39 days later, is December 3rd, which is literally right around the corner. And he brought up the idea that recently in the UK and the US, we've been seeing swarms of drones that the US has not confirmed or denied if they're from China or Russia or their own. But it seems to me that if they were alien drones, then that would actually fit right into this prediction. I just thought that was crazy. Or as the kids say, cray cray. He said that what was interesting about his machine, keep in mind, or his software, he developed this in the 90s. And when he first was able to get a jump in the machine, it was because somebody had come up with the Oxford Dictionary online, and he was actually able to feed that into his web bot. And what he found was kind of interesting, and the way he described it was really neat. When you and I go through high school and maybe college and then through our early years of life, by the time we're young adults, we might use a vocabulary of about 100,000 words, okay? As you break off from school and start to go into your job or your career, you might end up only using 35,000 words on the regular. That's how he said it. Take away the job or career. Out of the 100,000 words that you know, you might actually actively use 35,000 of those words, which means when you go online, you're probably using those 35,000 out of the 100,000 that you actively know in your vocabulary. As you go into your job or career, you start to niche down, so to speak, and then all of a sudden, instead of expanding, your vocabulary is actually going to become less. And the way he described it was, if you were selling shoes, right, and you owned a shoe store of some sort, your vocabulary would go from 35,000, let's say, down to 10,000, because now you're talking a lot about shoes, and a lot of the stuff that we talk about in our job or career is repetitive. So if you're a shoe salesman, regardless of the brand of shoes, you're going to be talking a lot about the sole and about the laces and the leather or the quality of the product, etc., etc. His machine is slowly but surely gaining more words. And here's an interesting thing. When things are brewing, so to speak, and you're using your 3,000 or 4,000 words in your vocabulary at your job regularly, and you're starting to type and talk to people online in these chat forums, again, you're sticking mainly to these limited words that you use. But every now and then, his web bot started discovering that basically people's vocabularies would jump. And if you look at people as individuals, you don't really notice jumps too much. But if you look at people collectively, when all of a sudden shoe salesmen start talking about other things and they're using other words that they might not normally have used, I'll use Bitcoin as an example. 20 years ago, none of us knew what the heck Bitcoin was. And even though nowadays a lot of us still don't know much about it, I'd be willing to bet that you and I have all heard of Bitcoin over the past, let's say, decade or so. Because of that, some of us ended up using Bitcoin regularly in our vocabulary because some of us decided to invest in Bitcoin or in crypto coins, right? So basically, imagine a situation where one year you and I are talking about the normal things we talk about, our shoes at our shoe store, right? And then all of a sudden, not only is our group, but other adjacent groups are all of a sudden talking about Bitcoin. Well, when this happens, you can start to make predictions on that. One of the predictions that would happen would be people would start buying and selling Bitcoin. That's just as an example. And by the way, his computer actually not only kind of predicted 9/11, but it also predicted the housing crisis of 2008, and it also predicted the meteoric rise of Bitcoin. So again, it predicts things correctly, but they did make the point that it's only 50-50, so it does also make wrong predictions. For example, he predicted through his web bot that something catastrophic would happen in 2012. Why does that make sense? Because if you remember, in 2011, that movie 2012 came out. Everybody and their mother was talking about how 2012 was going to be the last year that we're in existence because of these different cartoons that we had found, right, when dealing with different South American predictive things that they had from the past, right? Everybody and their brother thought that there was a chance that we were going to go through some sort of apocalypse in 2012 Of course, you and I both know that that did not happen, but you could imagine his machine started noticing a lot of people talking about the end of the world in 2012. So here's the interesting thing. It predicts that Trump and Rogan are going to be talking, but it made this prediction, guys, way back in 2009. And you guys got to remember that back in 2009, I think Joe Rogan was probably still working for that show Fear Factor. He definitely wasn't 1/10 as big as he is nowadays, right? And Donald Trump back then was just the business mogul, right? He wasn't even into politics or what have you. So some way, somehow, this machine predicted that they would be talking here in 2024, and that after they talked, it would trigger a situation where, get this, 39 days later, this melee would occur in the sky. So get this, the language that we use as people kind of equates to our emotion, right? Again, if we're shoe salesmen, we're talking about leathers, we're talking about outsoles, we're talking about insoles and laces and Nike and Reebok and British Knights. You know, we're talking about all these different terms that would be synonymous with a shoe store. If all of a sudden we add UFO or UAP to our conversation, the web bot can pick up on that change in vocabulary. As language changes, Clif High believes it's our collective conscience. The way he described this was really eloquent and beautiful. He said, imagine you go into the woods at night and for whatever reason, the hair on your neck stands up. You and I all know what that means. It means that somewhere in the woods out there, there is a predator, and your body doesn't know why it does it, but there are these moments that we all go through where our gut says, get the heck out of there. Even though it's hard for us at this point in the game to detect that as individuals, his web bot could detect it from us as a collective being based on our vocabulary. And I just thought that was freaking incredible. Searching for new words, it's our inner psychic leaking out. That's me paraphrasing what Clif High was saying on this video. Words equal glimpses into the future. Again, that's true. Think about it. We talk about ChatGPT 3 now or ChatGPT 4, and that's because eventually we'll be on ChatGPT 10, and by then it'll be taking over the world. More than likely, nothing's going to happen. And I've been hearing about these drones that they've been seeing at these military bases, guys. And I don't know, if you saw a drone or a light above a military installation, I'm just not necessarily the type to say that's an alien. I would be thinking that that's one of the vehicles from the military installation itself. But again, either way, the U.S. military isn't exactly talking about it or telling us anything. Damn you and your secrets. It's probably best that they don't tell us. Oh my God. Could you imagine if they had to rely on us, the people, to keep secrets away from the Chinese and Russians? Holy crap, we would betray our country in less than 10 minutes. We can't keep secrets worth a shit in this country. By the way, this thing has a name that's going to be happening here on December 3rd, supposedly. It's called the Emergence of Sci-Fi World. So I don't know about you, but doesn't that just sound kind of cool? My favorite sci-fi author was Jules Verne, and he always predicted a future where you would have like, you know in the airport, how they have those moving sidewalks where you literally just step on them and they're moving, and if you walk, you go even faster, right? Because it's moving underneath you. He kind of predicted that we would have those moving sidewalks in the future, and he predicted correctly that we would be really based on electricity because, as you guys know, for the last 50, 60 years, it seems like electricity has gotten bigger and bigger in all of our lives. And that's what Jules Verne was about. I kind of see this web bot as a software version of Jules Verne. If you're a Jules Verne fan as well and you've read some of his stuff, let me know down below I've read a lot of his works. I love that guy. You know, here's the thing that's interesting. Let's say you went outside and there was this giant battle in the sky of what looked like, I don't know, looked like military planes combined with UFOs. I bet you there'd be a big piece of you that would want to run back inside and maybe get in a closet, right, and try to be as safe as you can. But my thinking is you might as well just go lay down on the ground in your backyard and watch it, because if anything starts hurling towards your house, I don't think your house is going to be able to protect you from any type of intergalactic UFO flying saucer type contraption. But my God, my plan is not to hide indoors. I would want to go in my backyard and see if I could look up in the sky with binoculars and see whatever I could see. I think that'd be awesome. So what do you guys think? Do you think one day we are going to be that lucky generation that looks up and we see some sort of UFO? Is there going to be a contact that happens? See, I'm of the thinking that there would be absolutely nothing that the government could do to hide that from us. If the aliens didn't give two craps about top secrecy that the military has over us, I think they could fly over with regularity and show themselves. And because of the fact that they usually don't, and I say usually because it seems like more and more people are taking pictures of these things and videos of these things every day, so I don't want to sit there and be in denial that people are seeing something. But my thinking is I don't think the government could hide it from us. So when the government says they don't really have any proof of it, where other people think that they're hiding some grand stuff from us, I don't really feel that way at all. Does anybody else think that? That if our government actually did have proof of aliens, they would probably just tell us? Because think about it. Let's go back to the 1940s when this Roswell incident happened. You know, that was what, 85 years ago, right? In the last 85 years, to my knowledge, there has not been a battalion of UFOs that have come in and killed us all or taken us to be captives, right? To my knowledge, none of that has happened. And I think if the government just came out and said, you want to know something, guys? Here's the pictures of the crafts. Here's the pictures of the aliens. They obviously do exist. But because of the fact that they're so rare, we've only got this. We never see them on the regular. You know, I would believe it, and I don't think I would freak out about it. I still think people would still be a part of their religious faith. Call me crazy, but I just don't think you're going to talk too many people into quitting their faith just because, you know, aliens are real. With that being said, there are so many planets and so many stars out there that I think we can all agree that somewhere out there might just be something. But I just don't think they made this cosmic plan to come visit us out here. Now, if they want to come out here to get our gold or to get our oil or to get our resources, you know, I guess I could see that happening, but I don't know, that seems kind of crazy, doesn't it? To travel halfway across the galaxy to pick up some gold. If you're that advanced, you probably know how to just create gold. You probably know how to just create certain elements. And so I don't necessarily think that they need to come here and do anything of the sort. In the 1800s, you had people that would go outside and they would stare at the stars. And because we didn't have electricity back in the day, at least not on the regular, they probably saw way more stars naturally than we have access to. I'm sure you guys have heard the saying, go out in the country away from the city lights and you can see so many stars, it'll blow your mind. You guys have all heard that before, right? Well, it's really interesting. Back in the 1800s, you could have done that from anywhere in the country because there weren't too many people that had any electric light bulbs, if at all. Probably not at all, unless you were going by Tesla's house or something, right? But basically, those people would write in journals every day, and a lot of them were like Jules Verne and Orson Welles, where they just came up with story idea after story idea. And all the people that come up with these great ideas nowadays, they used to read these authors. So it's like we live in this sci-fi world, And there's a lot of us that want that stuff to come true. As a matter of fact, that's what I always was told about science fiction. I was told that with science fiction, there's always at least a chance that in the future, some of that stuff could come true. So it made even the most fantastical story that much more exciting for me as a kid. I used to love reading so much. I think I told you guys before that I'm one of these guys that I can actually read a book and see a movie in my head while I'm reading it. And that's a skill I developed about 10, 15 years ago, maybe closer to 20 years ago, because I was just reading like crazy. And the reason I started reading like crazy is because I was the type that I would read a page and I would forget what the heck I read. So I almost had to reteach myself when I was in my 20s and 30s how to read something and then retain it. And then, okay, we're going to move on to the next page. I think you guys that read regularly can kind of appreciate that. It's like a muscle that you develop. The more you read, the more you really love what you're reading, and you're able to really get into the love affair with books. And a lot of times people love movies, but they'll tell you, hey, the book was better. The reason the book is better is because you get to put your imagination into it. And the closest thing that you can get to reading someone's mind is reading a book. So when I read all those Jules Verne books, I kind of felt like I was reading old Jules Verne's mind. A lot of people feel that way about Stephen King nowadays. Here's another crazy question for you. Would you want to be here for the end of the world if you knew there was going to be some intergalactic war and we were probably going to lose? I would still want to be a part of it, wouldn't you? I mean, if that's what the movie is supposed to entail, I don't want to miss that part of the movie. Because I can't help but think that Planet Earth is just one big movie where we all get to be a part of it. It's kind of like that meta world that Zuckerberg wanted to create, and I guess he did create, but nobody's on it, right? That's what we already live in real life. Every corner you take, Mala, is a choose-your-own-adventure book. Every story is authored by you. Who knows? Maybe we are in those final days. And if this planet is just one big movie, don't you agree we should make the most out of it? So go on your walk and challenge yourself. Ask yourself, brain, is there anything that I've always wanted to do that maybe I put in the back corner of my mind and forgot about? Give yourself permission to open those doors and to pull that out, and let's put it into reality. You've got a bunch of venters here that believe in you. I can do this, you can do this, we can do this. Let's do this. And keep in mind, guys, sometimes I wake up on the right side of bed and I think, maybe there are aliens. And then other times I wake up on the wrong side of the bed and I say, it's all bullshit. Maybe you're like that too. If there's a piece of you that wants aliens to be real, let me know down in the comments. And if there's a piece of you that absolutely knows it's hokey pokey and completely a jokey, then let me know down in the comments. But either way, here's one of those things that I want you to do. Keep walking, don't stop. We just ate a lot of food for Thanksgiving. It's time to burn off those calories. I'll see you tomorrow.